This is Rummy's Corner. Tyson Fury is making yet another comeback. Officially, I think Fury may have retired more times than the great Sugar Ray Leonard. But of course, most of those retirements weren't real retirements, as is often the case in boxing, far more so than when it comes to athletes in other sports. Fury's comeback opponent is none other than Arslanbek Makhmudov. Makhmudov is a big, strong guy with a good punch and nice power, but he isn't especially skilled, making him a pretty good choice of opponent for Fury at this juncture. Last time out in October of last year, Makhmudov won a 12-round unanimous decision against David Allen. For the 36-year-old Makhmudov, that was the first time he'd ever been in a fight that lasted 12 rounds, and only the second time that any of his fights ever lasted the full distance. Makhmudov landed a lot in that one, though Allen was tough and durable enough that he was never down. Makhmudov was twice penalized for excessive holding, but he won the fight comfortably on the cards, despite fading later in the contest. That was his third win in his last 5. Where he was previously stopped against Guido Vianello back in August 24, and prior to that he was stopped against Agit Kabiel on the Boxing Day of Reckoning in December 23. Makhmudov was actually a big favorite going into that one, where many observers, myself included, were expecting Makhmudov to overpower Kabiel sooner or later. This was the expectation, despite the fact that Kabiel held a quality victory over Derek Chisora several years earlier. But instead of Makhmudov overwhelming Kabiel with raw power, it instead became a bit of a coming out party for Kabiel, one that kick-started his ascent up the rankings, where today, Kabiel is widely viewed as the most deserving challenger out there for heavyweight king Alexander Usyk. Makhmudov was having trouble landing and was often off balance as Kabiel proved to be a tricky customer. Kabiel's intelligent pressure approach that largely concentrated on attacking the body left poor Makhmudov absolutely baffled. Kabiel was digging downstairs ferociously, and Makhmudov didn't care for that at all. In total, Makhmudov was dropped 3 times before the fight was stopped in round 4, and to date, that is the only time Makhmudov has ever faced anyone who is now viewed as an elite-level heavyweight. Fury is no stranger to prolonged periods of inactivity. After dethroning long-reigning heavyweight king Vladimir Klitschko all the way back in November 2015, he was out of action, and he was stripped of 1 belt and ultimately relinquished the other 2 he had won from Vlad. Amazing to think that fight was more than 10 years ago now. But in any case, the long and short of it, without recapping Fury's depression and his failed drug test and all that, he gained a lot of weight during his time away. And when he finally came back in June 2018, he was in terrible shape when he squared off against Sefer Seferi. That was a 2.5-year absence between those 2 fights. And after beating Seferi, Fury kept shedding weight and ultimately began his rivalry against Deontay Wilder, which ultimately resurrected his career. Fury's other long stretch of inactivity happened in between his second and third fights with Wilder, where COVID was largely to blame, but a fight between AJ and Fury also fell apart when the court sided with Wilder, enforcing the 2-fight deal they had going into their second fight. So right now, this is the 3rd time in his career that Tyson Fury has been out of action for over a year, and this time, he is coming off of back-to-back losses. The only 2 losses he ever suffered as a professional. But the thing of it is, these were fights against the undisputed king of the heavyweight division. Even though he is technically no longer undisputed, Usyk is unquestionably the one and only real world champion in the heavyweight division, and he is an undefeated 2-division undisputed champion, widely recognized as the reigning pound-for-pound king of boxing. Point here being, there is no shame in losing to a true great like Usyk, and better yet, Fury made a good account of himself in both of the Usyk bouts, particularly their first fight, where Fury had Usyk looking uncharacteristically confused and out of sorts for a few rounds. Then again in the rematch, Fury again made a strong account of himself in a losing effort. Don't get me wrong, Usyk clearly won and deserved to win both of these fights. But Fury didn't embarrass himself in there. The rematch may have lacked the drama of their first bout, but Fury was competitive in both fights, despite falling short. With Fury being 37 years old, and considering he looked less than stellar the first time he had a prolonged period of inactivity, and then considering the big drop in performance between the second and third Wilder fights, I actually think Makhmudov is a perfect opponent for Fury at this time. Makhmudov is basic. He does not possess a great abundance of skills. And while powerful, his power shots are usually slow and somewhat telegraphed. He is the type of opponent one would think Fury should have a field day against, at least if he's still a legit heavyweight contender. So the fight should give us some idea of where Fury stands, and it will also act as an interesting point of comparison with regards to the way Kabiel dismantled Makhmudov. If Fury loses this one, it almost certainly crushes his dream of landing a third Usyk World Championship fight, and maybe even a fight against belt holder Fabio Wardley. But if Fury wins, it could very well put him back on the right path. One way or another, the fight against Makhmudov should give us an idea about how far Fury may have declined since his 2 losses against Usyk. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful night. This is Rummy's Corner.